how you understand the relationship between gender and patriarchy, and whether or not getting rid of gender in and of itself solves patriarchy.
Okay.
And if that's a question you don't want to answer right away because you think about it, that's fair.
Does getting rid of gender solve patriarchy? Okay.
Eradicate or abolish, yeah, to get to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
question of incentives. I think yeah. If patriarchy is men competing for status among men, ordering the world around that fight for status, um, marginalizing femininity, uh, during that compete for status and power and dominance. If gender does not exist, what is there to fight over?
Okay. And then I'm just asking. I'm just asking. Uh, Devil is a liar.
Oh no, that was
Yeah.
an aggressive tone, but I am asking myself like I've never thought about this before.
Okay, okay. I'm just asking. And then my second question is about and again, if you don't have an answer, that's fine. Is oh hold on. Oh no, I'll go there. Oh shoot, I just lost it. You said I lost my second question. I had a follow up question. Um, oh, if you abolish gender, does it still allow for sort of provisional and contingent instances of what we might call gender play and the pleasures that attend it? So, in other words, the call for the abolition of gender as sort of instrumentalized as a sort of way to as an instrument for the abolition of patriarchy is a necessary casualty, the deep human pleasure of gender and its play, and what gets lost in the sauce.
Hey, this dude double agent.
I don't think that the the libidinal pleasures, the bodily pleasures, romantic, the joy of romance and that stuff. I don't think that that has to. In fact, not only do I not think that the eradication of gender uh, means that we're also going to eradicate the possibility of certain kinds of pleasures or acts or experiences that we currently gender. I actually think it opens up new possibilities. It opens up new opportunities. I think that these constructs prevent, they're not only what prevents so many of us from fully exploring the depths, the expanse of our bodily pleasures, our sexual pleasures, our romantic pleasures. Um, but um okay, what was I gonna say? They not only stop us
But
from being able to
no, but
explore
those
the
are
expanse, but they also oh, I'm sorry, keep going.
no. I was gonna say, but what you're naming is like the height is like the category. Within that category,
Yeah,
there are very specific gendered pleasures, and so I'm just asking, in the abolition of gender, are you fine with the eradication of gendered pleasures?
but but, but are gendered pleasures real?
Yes.
Wait, when she says when you say real, what do you mean?
I
Well, you
mean,
can explain. Go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry. Well, okay. Well, since this is you said it first, maybe I want to make sure that I understand what you're talking about. So can you define them?
Like
Because to
like
my mind,
whatever the pleasures that
okay.
attend what the
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, 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 yeah.
am I in the
Okay,
matrix?
okay. So to my mind, okay.
Am I in the matrix?
No, I'm sorry, you're not. Um,
Oh, okay.
we name certain things, and I know we're going to say there's certain, biological realities, but if we're talking about expression, right? Like to me, pleasure is an expression of the mind meeting the body. I don't think that that's real, and I do think that holding on to the fiction means that you can't do all of the stuff you really want to do. What if there's a whole nother plane of what we currently imagine to be gender pleasures, but I think that that's fake.
Oh shit.
Um, what if there's a new world, a new plane, a new level, and we can't even get there? We can't even get into the spaceship because our mind is so locked around the imaginary.
Okay. So there seems to be some confusion by what I mean. So I just asked by a series of questions.
Okay.
Are there pleasures of black womanhood?
Um.
Non-sexual pleasures of black womanhood? A pleasure that attends gendered expression. People are acting like I'm just talking about sex. Someone says genders people can experience pleasure. I didn't say
Okay.
they couldn't. I mean, people know. I mean, this is the thing that happens on the club. That's why the chat is such a slick. They shouldn't look at it. But are there pleasures of black womanhood? I think we all would say yes.
Yes. Yeah.
This is not about sex. I was not talking. I'm talking about social interaction. I'm talking about individual forms of pleasure, the kind of cyclical pleasure you might enjoy that enjoy these sorts of things. I think we all can agree with. I'm not talking about sex or kink. So
Okay. Well, I totally
that's what I'm
admit that
asking.
I was locked into a much more narrow definition,
Yes,
but
because you
you're now
nasty.
we're getting
You
into what is it, like
nasty.
Lacanian theory or something? Like what is
You,
it? Who are you talking? Um
no, I'm specifically talking about like I don't know, like Goffman-esque
okay, okay.
self-presentation in everyday life, like sociological stuff.
Oh,
I'm
so
not talking
okay,
about
okay,
the
okay.
nasty.
Okay. Are there pleasures of black womanhood? Yes. Yes, I
Okay.
would
Are
say
you
there
willing
are.
to
Okay.
sacrifice those to eradicate those?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I okay. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Don't drag. Okay, you guys don't drag. Um,
Not drag.
don't drag me. But sometimes I do. Oh no, I don't know if I want to say this in public.
You gotta say it.
um, sometimes I do think that we play up. I think that those things are real, okay? But I do sometimes think that we play up the joys, the delights, the pleasures of black womanhood as a form of cope. If we understand the world as it is, and black women are really good at imagining something new and different and better, but there is a way that holding on again to things that are not real, they only have meaning because we give them meaning. They're only ways to sort ourselves because they have been foisted upon us. And this is a real individualistic,
Yeah.
but there's a way that we're cut off from our deepest desires, pleasures, fullest expressions of ourselves because we are still attached to the identity categories.
As to what?
The identity categories, the
Oh,
blackness
right,
of it
right,
all
right.
and the womanhood of it all, and then the black womanhoodness.
Okay. Okay. And you're willing to sacrifice all of that for this liberatory utopian future that you would imagine.
Yeah, I have thanks to both you and Science, I have come to terms with the fact that I'm a real
Democrat.
yeah, I'm a real liberal. I wouldn't say Democrat, but a real liberal. Like
You are.
I do believe.
That nigga a Democrat.
Um, I do believe that you have to choose. Oh, okay. And oh no, nobody repeat this back to me. Okay.
Was John
Um,
Kittiver here? He might be. It might be on YouTube.
but I do believe that ultimately, can you have the fullest expression of your individuality, your uniqueness, your
Mm.
rights,
Mm.
and a commitment to maintaining, I'm so sorry, to maintaining these
Mm.
communities, because those communities are rooted in attaching yourselves, rooting yourselves in these fictions that, in order to sustain themselves, they have to have restraints, they have to have boundaries. So, would we just make new communities? I don't know. We would maybe just organize ourselves differently, because humans are still, pack animals. I don't know.
Hey, how you doing? One second. Second, Kimberly, give me a second. Well, anybody else can speak. I'll respond and say, let's order my food.
Yeah, y'all, we gonna do a commercial break. I'm eating right now.
So, so
Lumi, you see?
go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, because I was just showing
What did I
Lumi,
miss?
did you? You weren't here.
No, but I heard Kimberly's very fascinating ideas. They're very interesting. So far, at least, the last 10 minutes, I believe. So, are you afraid of those types of ideas, Dave?
No, I'm an individualist. I don't think any of I never thought any of these things were real anyway. So remember, you're fundamentally an individual with just a bunch of attributes. What you ascribe those attributes to accumulate towards, that's your business. If you think the fact that you like guns and working out is masculinity, that's just your projection.
Cool, cool. Wow. Dave actually said something good.
No, no, I've
Nice.
always said that. The problem is the
No, no, no,
Democrats
no.
get no, no, the Democrats get mad when I say that because they're you know, they're attached to these protests. And to keep those protests alive, you have to keep these identities alive.
Wait,
All right.
what?
Can you hear me? I
Yeah.
never respond to Dave. Um, can you hear me? Can you
It,
hear me?
it's literally the truth.
Yeah, we can hear
Okay.
you.
Okay. All right. So, what become the terms of pleasure once we destroy these identity categories? In other words, how does one, as a human activity, um, produce pleasure, perform pleasure without categories? And the eradication of these categories does not preclude the engendering, pun intended, of other categories, which it could then lead to the similar forms of oppression. So, what happens when you get rid of these? What do you do for human pleasure and activity. Can I use my?
Yeah, yeah, I literally was just thinking about that, right? Like if a part of what I think is that humans we'll never ever, even if gender is gone, even if race is gone, we will never evolve out of the desire for connection, the desire for order, the desire for sorting. How I don't know if it's I don't. Oh, I'm about to go down a road that is a little I don't know. I don't know. I'm stumped right now.
Yeah, I don't want to get too. This is the pragmatists took this up, and then black pragmatists, like Eddie Glaude, takes this up. His best books is one of his best books is on black pragmatism. I don't want to get into a whole Dewey thing, so I'm not going to do it. But it's very difficult because one's utopian desires or aims, to use the language you put, what happens the next day, and it's very hard to imagine um this sort of this abolishing um the way people. Oh, I forgot my napkins. It's very hard. Excuse me. It's very hard. One cannot put on the Caucasian chalk circle without what Bertolt Brecht wrote down. That was a deep allusion, and people got that one. So, but the reason why I said that, because it's all about constructivism. So it's very difficult. It's very, very hard.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, keep going.
no, no, no. I'm just getting a napkin. Do you think?
Okay. Yeah. And these are things. I've been wrestling with it because baby Kim, I feel really fortunate that my life has not been marked by cruelty and deprivation.
Mhm.
And that has inspired an idealism. I mean, beyond the constraints of race and gender, right? But like the way that I've seen people, I've still been able to think of people mostly as good. Um, and more recently, I don't conceive of people mostly as good. And so, if wickedness, as the word would say, is it's a natural part, a foundational part of human existence, then yeah, we can acknowledge the needless suffering that comes from all of these categories, right? But wickedness is still there, and it has to show up somehow. It has to express itself. So you've deconstructed the world, you've remade the world, and now you're just waiting for the new expression of wickedness. And that is what makes for me at this point, like belief in certain kinds of radicalism or idealism, it makes it really hard because it's never going to be stamped out.
Um, whenever I listen to conversations like this and we're talking about categories and labels and things like that, I feel that we get so lost into the symbolism of language rather than what is actually happening in the material world. Changing labels is not going to change the hearts and minds of people. And what the actual issue is are the dynamics of power. Um, when we talk about pleasure, the whole point of power is to maximize, well, to a lot of people, I should say, is to maximize pleasure by being able to um, exploit others to serve your pleasure. And so that is how patriarchy began. That is how racism began. That's how a lot of other isms began. And the categories were created in service of that. So simply just switching categories around is not going to change the fundamental fact that a lot of people are um, believers in social Darwinism. They believe that somebody should be first and that somebody might as well be me, and that I should be able to game the system enough to get the most by either using outright power or leverage against others. And then when we have the systems, we have people who um, share some of those labels, who agree to work together to exploit others who do not share that label. And that's why I think it's often a waste of time when we go round and round in things like gender, race, sex, and what have you, until we address this idea that it's a systemic issue, part of the nature of human beings potentially, that to want more than you can produce for yourself, therefore you need to force others to produce for you and your exclusionary benefit, is the actual issue. I hope I'm not getting too abstract. Thanks.
I for one, I do agree that pleasure is insatiable, right? But I don't think that all forms of dominance or the desire to enact dominance is about the pursuit of pleasure. I think it can be about safety, real or imagined. Um,
And what is safety for?
uh, a comfort, an ease,
Which could be described as,
but I actually don't describe I don't think that not having to be hypervigilant equals pleasure.
okay, I'm not sure if I understood that, but go on, please.
Yeah. So I think to me, safety is about the ability to let your guard down, the ability to not have to constantly worry, to not have your cortisol activated, to not be looking over your shoulder. I don't think that I think that pleasure is something different from being able to just exist,
Okay, so
living
maybe,
without worry.
okay, so I think that my definition of pleasure might be a bit broader than what you're describing. So we might not actually be disagreeing. So the idea that you have to um, worry about your comfort to or be hypervigilant, to me, is about pleasure. And by pleasure, I mean the existence and quiet enjoyment of your existence. That's it. Not an active high or anything like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand. I just imagine pleasure as being a more elevated state.
Right. Yeah. So we're talking about two different things. So maybe we should just find a more common word than pleasure. How about peace?
Peace makes sense.
Sorry, I can't talk for a few minutes.
Okay, I am reading what you're saying in the chat, yo mama. Adam Smith's lectures on jurisprudence get on, I'm sorry, I'm chewing gum. Adam Smith's lectures on jurisprudence get hung up on what he calls love of domination, which for him is about vanity and pleasure. Yes, I do believe that there are subs that there's a segment of humanity that will always delight in domination, that will derive pleasure, like what needs to happen so that that
Hey,
poor
don't
black
forget
trans
Muslim.
woman,
Don't forget Muslim.
yeah, a poor black Muslim trans woman. So, what needs to happen? What needs to change so that that woman can live freely? So that she can, because this is a liberal idea, exercise all of her rights, right? Pursue her desires, but also have her foundational material needs met.
Oh man.
Yeah. Hey, hey, double. Because if we look at Double H's comment, he said, "America's the best place."
Hold on,
America.
hold on. I'm ordering some to eat. Hold on. All right, real
That
quick.
nigga go buying a plant.
That was hilarious.
That nigga funny. I don't even know who Double Agent is, but I know that nigga crazy. Hey, misogynist, did you want to respond to that or not?
No, that is what a good feminist would say. But I think I think the way to fix these problems would be, at least for me, oh shit, we're in a full debate now, would be a race-based one as opposed to a gender-based one. Because when you align with non-black women, they're going to, by virtue of their non-blackness, do the very thing that you think you're undoing. That's what I believe. And there has always been, in this country at least, gender, excuse me, racial solidarity over and above gender solidarity. That's what my reading of the history suggests. That's what I've seen. Now, someone could disagree, but I think that cross gender, race based solidarity for me has to be the first political principle to solving the issue of that particular subject. I think that's what I believe because I've seen the history of white women in this country,
Yeah, yeah. Um,
and it's a lot worse than the history of black men in this country vis-a-vis black women. That's what I believe. Now, I could be wrong, and y'all could show me a bunch of black men who enslaved black women, etc. It's like you can give me the evidence. That's what I believe is the way to go. But I'll cede the
okay.
floor.
Well, no, not, okay, not this. This is not a debate, but
Oh, we're in
so
it
Hey,
now.
Zephyr, pay
so
attention.
I think it's important to underscore something I said yesterday that patriarchy is global. It transcends time, it transcends place. Um, the instinct for gender domination emerges in all kinds of contexts. So it is true, right, that in the even though borders are fake, it is true that
Man.
in the United States that white women have had the ability to exercise a uniquely horrible kind of violence on Black people and largely in Black women in particular. However, the question is what happens the day after we eradicate racial oppression? Is there does gender oppression disappear, or is it exacerbated by the fact that that race hierarchy is no longer there, and it doesn't necessitate the kind of collectivist, or it doesn't necessitate the kind of organizing that Black people have had to do, that Black people of all genders have had to do to come together under the racial umbrella to fight white supremacy.
Well, I don't know what happens the day after. Um, I think for the parameters of the debate, at least, I'd like to stay within the artificial construct of these borders because we're thinking about it in terms of within a kind of liberal polity.
That's true.
But I will say, yeah, no, you were fair what you said. I'm not saying you was wrong. But I will say this: my reading of white supremacy in this country is that it is the one that does the gender scrambling. This is just what Hortense Spillers and many other Black feminists taught me. I don't know. Are we allowed to cite Black feminists in here? Is Articulate here? We allowed to cite Black feminist scholars? Because he would be the Black feminist expert here. I just want to shout to Articulate. Um, and so the gender stuff in the United States, shout out to Jennifer Morgan. If y'all know the great Black feminist historian Jennifer Morgan writes about this as well, comes from chattel slavery and its underlying ground systems of white supremacy. So I believe that in order to quote unquote fix some of the stuff that you outlined, we have to fix its originary cause. So while it's true that patriarchy as a kind of general problematic far predates the modern world and race, gender relations as we understand them in the United States flows out of chattel slavery, white supremacy, or vis-a-vis the body flesh dyad that Hortense Spillers very famously gave us, among others. I'm not trying to get super dorky, so I won't go too deep into it. So for me, I think that's the originary cause from which all this scramble flows. And on the real, I just don't think white women can be trusted in the fight. I see no evidence that white women can be trusted in the fight.
I I don't think that acknowledging um I don't think that acknowledging how entrenched, or I don't, it's not natural, but acknowledging the persistence, right, across time and space of patriarchy means that we're trusting white women. I think we should mistrust white women. um I just don't. I can agree with you that the current gender dynamics that we see emerge from chattel slavery. Like, I think I agree with that. Do I agree with that though? Do if we fix the race thing, this gender order gets mixed up, this gender order gets dismantled, but the gendered oppression and gendered violence does not get eradicated. Like, we are trying to, like, when you make this argument, you're kind of forcing people who experience, and I won't even say people who experience gender oppression, because now the Black men are saying that y'all experience gender oppression, but
Oh boy.
you're trying to force women into a new fire, right? Like, we could escape from one burning house, right? The burning house that chattel slavery built, but then we're running into just regular old gender violence, right? Like, if we don't contend simultaneously, right? Like, I saw it in the chat. If we're not contending with multiple things at once, you're basically forcing people who experience other kinds of marginalization to work, put forth their time and their work and their effort to just build a new jail. And that is not justice for me.
Well, I agree with that, but I thought for the sake of the argument, we had to choose one or the other. I don't think
We
we were
have
allowed to do that
okay.
before.
Well, I just
Yeah.
don't, I don't like
Well,
the
that's the fun of the fun of the debate.
oh, okay.
Yeah, you got to choose one.
If we
But
have to
usually,
choose,
yeah.
but you know what? We can also talk about okay. So let's say that gender oppression that black men say that they experience, that's
Yeah.
real. Okay.
Okay.
Um we can also talk about if you're eradicating patriarchy, is there is there a way that black men who some would say aren't men, no shade, um
Oh boy.
uh and probably spillers would say that they're not men, that black men that they that there is a pathway to liberation there, right? Like if the American racial order is built upon this ungendering, can you get to a kind of liberation that most of us have never imagined, that most black men maybe have never imagined, because their fantasy is replacing the place of the white male. um is there something completely new and different if you are no longer beholden at all to the American gender order, which yes is intertwined with race, but you get to the race stuff by undoing the fake naturalized man on top, woman on bottom. Femininity must be minimized. Femininity must be stomped out, especially in men. Weakness must be stomped out, especially in men. Particularly when we understand how the chains, of hypermasculinity, like hold so many black men back, restrain them.
Hey, Zephyr, you see this shit, man? I told you.
Um,
Yeah, don't listen.
I mean, Dave, you can't get to individualism until you eradicate these kinds of systems. I mean,
Yep.
there are individuals that can't be individuals yet. Like we're trying to get to individualism. Like,
No, you should respond as an individual. People are talking about groups of 90%
Hold on,
plus
hold on.
who
I
don't
don't want
even
him getting
know
too
them.
off because I do want to see a
yeah.
response to what Kim just said.
Oh, okay. Um. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the essay, she talks about this insurgent new ground. I mean, my understanding of the protocol. Now I sound now I'm a very Hortense Phillips esque phrase. I apologize, but fuck it. My understanding of the protocols of sort of violent black masculinity, saying he was talking about in the United States, is one that emerges out of the institutions that are born of that institution of chattel slavery, capture, shipment, and enslavement. So my understanding, and I think this is an understanding that black liberals have understood, is that once you dismantle that system of quote unquote white supremacy, as they call whatever you want to call it, th- that's not dismantled unless those protocols of violent black masculinity are gone. So, in other words, this may be a weird legitimate. I apologize. Sleight of hand. So I apologize. But I don't think you have eradicated the system of white supremacy until those protocols and performances of hyperviolent black masculinity are also eradicated. So I have that unfolded into that system because that emerges out of that. I mean, this is one of Douglas's lessons, which is why he all linked sort of women's liberation part and parcel with slave liberation and black liberation. He never bifurcated them. I think that's one of his great interventions in his political philosophy. So I don't think you can have the eradication of white supremacy in its afterlife, so to use that phrase, without the eradication of those protocols of violence as a system. Individuals were always individual. That the individual stuff. People talk about individual. Talk about as a system. That may be a fake way to answer, and it may allow me to wiggle out more than a pig in with Crisco trying to grab. But that's what I truly believe. I believe all of this stuff, this is sort of these sort of protocols and performances of these identity categories are born of those institutions. Maybe that was a trick. Maybe I put you in a trick bag
Yeah, I'm
or put myself in a trick bag.
um yeah, what's immediately coming to mind for me is okay, we can't trust white women. Um, but I'm not convinced. I understand your argument, right? That historically the black man has been the most committed, the most dedicated ally of the black woman. But we do see how this gender aspirations impact the organizing against white supremacy, right? Like what if we completely take away, what if the end of patriarchy means the eradication, the end of gender? And this thing that, yes, okay, I understand, born out of chattel enslavement, but like, what if we have to take away gender to even come together in such a way that attacking the race thing is even possible? Like, there is a way in which deprivation
Hmm.
engenders, not engender, well, yes, engenders, deprivation cultures gender mistrust.
Hmm.
And so how can we e- how can we even imagine effectively coming together to battle white supremacy until the fiction of gender is gone?
Yes, this is a good retort. And um Mills, I think it was, I forget the name. Charles Mills and Catherine T. Gaines, I think is her name. Zion brought us up. They had this debate. I'll send it to you in the back, or you can find it. They had this debate about 15, 20 years ago. And this is a point I don't think he particularly addressed. I think it's been a stumbling. I mean, he's a much bigger brain than me. Um, and I can't solve that. I think that's actually a very good and pragmatic question. So I'm actually stumped on that question. And so it actually gets me, it takes us away from what we might call ideal theory, which he talks about, into sort of, real, into this kind of realism of politics, or real politics. I don't know the answer. That's very, very difficult to answer. So there you go. I know that you're not supposed to say that on the app, and I have a reputation for acting like I know all the answers. But as I've proven again, I have no idea. I can't answer. I have to think about it. I've thought about that for a long time. In fact, the first time I thought about that question and continue to ponder that question is the first time I read the racial contract 20 plus years ago, and he alludes to it throughout the racial contract, and it's buried in it. And I don't think he ever developed a good answer to it. I don't think it's in that series of essays. They have a back and forth. Um, I don't have a good answer to it.
No, that's fair. Sister, uh, sister said racism is one of the larger off branches of patriarchy. Hmm.
Zion's response he put in the chat. Black philosophy, then, particularly in its intersectionalist rather than its dominant black male form, emerges as a philosophy of those at the bottom, it's an interlocking set of oppressions. Yeah, I mean that's your way out, which is to go to this sort of the systems analysis, interlocking systems like oppressions. But that may be the defeater of that question, and the way to deal with that is his answer there. But it doesn't answer the question sort of because then now if to use that as an answer design, I have to racial solidaristics. I have to do the interlocking system side. But do you know that debate? Do you know that back and forth between Catherine Gines and Charles Mills, Kimberly?
No.
Oh, it's real good. It's real good. She wrote the book Hannah Arendt, The Negro Question. She's a philosopher at Penn State. Very, very, very intelligent. She's a black woman philosopher. Um, Lovely, lovely person. And of course, Charles Mills, the great. I've now come to the thought that Charles Mills, um, one of the great top five uh, black thinkers of this generation, along with the likes of, he's a little younger, but along with the likes of WJW, a few others. But anyway, you can find it online. But that's the defeater. Yeah, that's one of the that's the defeater.
Hey, Lumi, did you listen to any of that, Lumi? Yeah, that nigga ran.
Lumi is rolling up joints and reading the same three paragraphs in Universal Healthcare Insurance and dating ALC. It's busy.
Hey, Zephyr, did you get any of that, or do you have any refutation?
Multitasking at the moment, but for the most
Yeah,
part,
I bet there's a lot of tasks at
yeah,
hand now.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've asked, I've asked Chris if she kind of believes, because it's kind of going into like, hey, I think that we'd be more effective in gender solidarity, and it's kind of like I'm just trying to hear it for the most part, abolishing abolishing patriarchy, focusing on that as a mission.
Let me ask you a question, Kimberly. Do you think in the United States, at least, we've gotten further along in the abolition of patriarchy or further along in the abolition of white supremacy since, say, emancipation, 1865?
Oh,
Excuse me.
I'm gonna need a minute. I'm gonna
Please take your
need
time.
yeah.
Nights like this, I wish raindrops would fall.
Wait, Kim, what'd you say? Did Kim say
I
further?
need a minute.
I need
Oh,
hmm,
okay.
Hey, this is crazy.
okay. Um, mm, I don't I thought I was close, but I'm not because I understand what some people will say, right? Like if you look in the Trump administration, I was just thinking about this the other day. There are far more women in the Trump administration than non-white men. However, those women are still instruments of patriarchy.